Hi, good evening. This is Meredith Lego, and I'm doing a series of videos on Ascension science. And today I'm going to be bringing forward some content from an Ascended Master who I have connected with, and I am able to channel content in terms of different information that I get from him. I also connect in with other multidimensional beings, but this is a being called Ascended Master Hilarion. And I've been able to essentially work with him. And when I've got questions, I'm either receiving images clairvoyantly or actually hearing, hearing clairaudiently different information or getting certain feelings. And all that kind of comes together with bringing forward the information. So in this particular video, I was asking, and actually I channeled this in December of last year. So December 7th, actually, 2021. And we were actually approaching the winter solstice. And I was sort of curious about that winter solstice date coming up because it was, these key turning points in our, when we're going through sort of the equinox and the solstice periods can be, key changes. I think they just represent overall cycles for change. And historically, Ascended Master Hilarion has talked about the fact that, with the cycles, there's sort of like a birth, an experiencing, a processing of the experience, or so you're integrating the learning of the experience, and then there's sort of a death process in which you kind of rebirth a new experience. And if you think about it, our Earth and the weather, the weather patterns that we go through experience that every single year with spring, winter. Let me think about that: spring, summer, fall, and then winter. So that's kind of a representative example of how the Earth goes through that experience. And as I understand it, obviously the vernal equinox, which is on March the 21st, is sort of the day and the night are of equal length. The summer solstice, which is on June the 20th or the 21st, is the longest day of the year. The autumn equinox on September the 23rd really is like equal length days, but it's the start of autumn. And then the winter solstice on December the 21st is the shortest day of the year. And so at the time I was asking this question, it was specifically asking about, what does the date December 21st specifically for the year 2021 represent? And he answered that the universe is nested with fractals that form through the process of creation, being, or sort of experiencing, integrating that experience, and ending to then once again recycle. So, again, the universe is nested with fractals that form through the process of creation, being, integrating, and ending to then once again recycle. This is so the source of the creation knows itself in all states of thoughts, feelings, and actions. As the process moves on in cycles, which were designed to slow down time from one now moment to the next, a learning occurs. This entire process of slowing down essentially gives the illusion of time to the experiencing consciousness. December 21st, 2021 is a milestone point in the cycles. For not only is it a point annually in which your planet transitions into an annual cycle of death with the winter solstice, and I have to imagine that's for just the northern hemisphere, but it is also a key milestone for a grand cycle to end of 75,000 years. At this point, third dimension consciousness on Earth, or Earth itself, shifts to fourth and fifth dimension consciousness. You can set your watch by it, no pun intended. How fortunate are you to have incarnated at such an important point in history. Your soul wanted to experience and help manifest the transition. There will be no more resets. You are moving on. The tuning fork vibrates and creates resonance with other forks with the same octave. So that was kind of a big piece of news. And, I obviously didn't communicate it then because my YouTube channel hadn't even started back then. I started it really a month later. But essentially what he's saying is that was a huge milestone, if you will, for consciousness that's experiencing human form right now. So essentially, we went through a major, cycle. So if you go back to some of the videos in which I show how, we've got experiencing that's going through a torus field, and the kind of recycling of that depends upon the amount of lessons that we have and the time that goes on in between each lesson. And so we've undergone the finishing up of a grand cycle, which has been about 75,000 years, experiencing third dimension consciousness. And essentially, we've gotten to a point where there's enough, I think, maybe a percentage of not only just Earth itself, but the beings who are a part of Earth and Earth consciousness have shifted enough so that we're actually moved up to a new octave or a new frequency, a new harmonic that is more aligned with fourth and fifth dimension consciousness. So I'm sure, you've got ranges still of beings on Earth that are at different levels, but it sounds like Earth has moved up as well. So that was a big milestone. Now, I'm bringing this video up now because this is something that I channeled in December, but I've also heard reports that this shift also happened, within the last month. So I'm sure it's been happening, relatively, within the last, couple months. But the point is that if you look at time, in terms of the long millions of years of time, we're in that moment now where it's essentially happening. So that is very exciting, especially since, we apparently all elected and wanted to be here to help with this transition process. So, way to go, team. That's exciting stuff. And then essentially what he's also saying is that, at the end, he's like, the tuning fork vibrates and creates resonance with other forks at the same octave. And that's actually a really, really key statement. So oftentimes, as you're kind of going about your day and you're thinking, gee, we could be doing so much better as humanity, or I'd like to make a difference. The best thing that you could do, and this is actually how I woke up and started to focus on this whole area, is to focus on yourself. So when you actually increase your own frequency, when you kind of do the inner work, and it's all inner work, and most of it is focusing on your emotion. So a lot, like 90% of it is really working on your emotional body. But when you do that inner work, you are able to increase your frequency, and you are naturally going to start vibrating in a certain frequency, and others around you will through a resonance effect have the ability to start vibrating at a similar frequency. And this, shows up with tuning forks, or it could show up with harp strings, whatever the case may be. You have an enormous effect, even though you don't see it necessarily. That vibrational frequency that's going on sort of at the quantum level has an enormous effect on sort of changing and altering the world around you. So again, your inner reality begins to reflect your outer reality. So the greatest thing, or the greatest gift that you can give yourself and humanity, is to do the inner work and to, obviously just let go a lot of the mental consternations, do things to understand what's driving some of the root causes of your emotional traumas, because that could actually help help solve some of the physical traumas that you have as well. And by doing that, all boats rise. So again, we continue to put ourselves into higher octaves of frequency and resonance. So that's really exciting news. And just wanted to, pass on the significance of that particular date. And what it also brings up is that each of these equinox and solstice transitions become, really milestone points, as we kind of move on in our consciousness in this sort of holographic construct. So with that, I hope you have a great rest of your evening and day, and I will continue on with future videos. And if you're new to this channel and this content resonates with you, I would encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already. Give it a thumbs up. And if it doesn't, that's okay. Whatever doesn't resonate with you, leave it behind. But maybe 1 or 2 points have added to your journey. So lots of love, and I will see you in future videos. Thanks. Bye.